Part 9. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 81. Senior Sister Wu Yu welcomed her into the great holy palace. The place was very clean and decorated with a lot of decorations to welcome guests. I'm afraid there will be more people coming to visit Wu Yu in the future. Su Yanli, with fair skin, fluttering clothes, like a fairy in a dream, floated in with a graceful figure. Her crystal clear eyes looked around and said, "It has only been a few days, and you have dressed up like this. Exquisite. I was just about to ask you if you need any help." There's no need to bother Senior Sister with such a small matter. In Wu Yu's heart, Su Yanli is a bit like Wu Yu, taking care of him like a sister, but different. Su Yanli's personality is similar to that of Feng Shui, and he will be colder and inaccessible. Now Wu Yu calmed down and looked at Su Yanli, and found that her magical power was even more powerful than Zhang Junlin's, and she even felt like she was completely crushing him. It seemed that he had underestimated Su Yanli's level. After sitting down, Su Yanli stared at Wu Yu and said, "I heard from Master that you even defeated Zhang Junlin, the son of sect leader Zhang. Then the gap between you and me is not very big. It's less than 2 days. Your progress over the years is truly incredible." Even a calm person like her was extremely surprised when she heard Wu Yu's current achievements. The 2 magic sources can achieve this step. It seems that your physical strength, which is at least 5 times my own, is of great use. Su Yanli's bright eyes looked at the lines of Wu Yu's muscles, which made Wu Yu a little embarrassed. Obviously, Su Yanli was devoted to cultivating Taoism and seemed unwilling to take into account the affairs of men and women. However, Wu Yu was young after all. Sometimes it was difficult not to have ideas after spending more time with her. After all, this beauty had excellent appearance, talents, qualifications, and character. "Oh, are you tempted?" Ming Long clicked his tongue. With someone nearby, it was inconvenient for Wu Yu to talk to Ming Long. However, he knew in his heart that for monks, love between children was mostly an obstacle. Su Yanli had always treated him as his younger brother, and he also had this woman in mind. With great respect. "Wu Yu." Seeing Wu Yu stunned, Su Yanli reminded him softly. "Sister, tell me, I'm listening." Su Yanli smiled lightly and said, "Master likes you very much and takes good care of you. This time, he is even more worried about your safety and brought you back personally. He even did not hesitate to fight for you and the 7 ghosts of the Red Sea." "Master, did you fight them?" Wu Yu was surprised. It turned out that Feng Shui just said that they had a face-to-face meeting. Well, it was a big battle, with a huge impact. Master fought 7 of them alone, and neither side took advantage. However, the 7 ghosts of the Red Sea obviously refused to let it go, so Master was anxious to bring you back. "I see." Unexpectedly, he fought a battle with the 7 ghosts of the Red Sea for himself, but he didn't tell himself. If Su Yanli hadn't told him, he wouldn't have known about it at all. The 7 ghosts of Shihei can draw with Feng Xia. They are obviously both heaven-defying figures. Now that the spiritual energy fountain has appeared in the Bibo Mountains, we, as disciples, should practice harder, otherwise we will be in trouble. After saying this, Su Yanli's expression became a little calmer, and he bit his red lips slightly. "Why did Senior Sister say that? Or a fountain, isn't this a great thing?" Su Yanli shook his head and said, "The matter of the spiritual energy fountain may be a good thing or a bad thing. If we can hold on to it, the Tongtian sword sect will definitely grow several times stronger in the future, but the way to practice is to burn, kill, and plunder. We have such a majestic mountain gate, and others will inevitably be jealous. If we fail to live up to our expectations, the Tongtian sword sect will probably pay a heavy price." Wu Yu understood. To have such a paradise, you must have the strength to defend it. Who could be the hidden enemy? Su Yanli said, "There are many possibilities. Recently, Xuanhuan Daozong is not a good guy, and Zhang Xie is also a sanctimonious person. The 7 ghosts of the Red Sea who came from afar are even more inhuman beings. Not to mention the many big demons who noticed the changes in their spiritual veins. Although it is said to be okay for the time being, there is no guarantee that one day something troublesome will happen. Wu Yu has long understood that the immortal road is ferocious, fighting against heaven and earth, fighting against all things, and going upstream. How can there be no challenges? I'm digressing. The main thing I want to say is that since you have taken revenge, you must put down your hatred, concentrate on the immortal way, and practice with concentration. This Tongtian sword sect has given us a new life and is our common home. Even if we can't keep it in the future, we have to work hard to live up to it. Good. You have only been here for a short time, so you don't have much affection for this place. I grew up here. I am a person here when I am born, and a ghost here when I die. Wu Yu knew these stakes very well. It seemed that Feng Shui hurriedly recalled the disciples outside and took a defensive stance in response to the changes in the spiritual energy fountain. No wonder this is a big deal. Big things are different from good things. When a good thing is in crisis, it becomes a big thing. Of course, the most important thing about your second level of qi condensation is cultivation. To resist foreign enemies, you have stronger disciples and elders. Our Tongtian sword sect is dominating one side, so we are not afraid of those little ones. Deep down, Su Yanli had the same pride as Feng Shui. Wu Yu and the others are now only the reserve force of the Tongtian sword section. Even if there is a disaster, they will not be able to play any role. At most, they will be responsible for the comeback. Speaking of cultivation, there is one thing I would like to remind you. Su Yanli changed the topic, not wanting to talk about such heavy things anymore. Sister, please tell me. You used to rely on your tyrannical body to get through, and now you can defeat the 4th level of qi condensation. Maybe this will make you realize how powerful your physical body is, so you ignore your magic power. In fact, the most important thing in the qi condensation realm is your magic power. So you can't lose sight of one thing and lose the other. When your opponent's magic power becomes stronger and stronger, you will find that the advantage of physical strength will gradually decrease, and your advantage will not be that great. Wu Yu understood this. His ability to defeat Zhang Junlin was the result of the Vajra indestructible body and the immobilization technique. However, if the Vajra indestructible body has not improved, its effectiveness will indeed decrease. If Wu Yu encounters an opponent at the 5th level or above of the qi condensation realm, the opponent will you can suppress yourself with magic power. Therefore, the next step is to increase mana and open more sources of magic. Senior sister, how strong is your qi condensation? After some discussion, Wu Yu asked this question. After you went to Suqiao, I broke through to the 5th level of qi condensation realm. Sure enough, she has made progress. It is said that there is a watershed between the 4th and 5th levels of the qi condensation realm. When he heard about the 5th level, Wu Yu quickly asked, has senior sister planted the immortal roots? He will naturally remember the fruit-bearing thing. Su Yanli nodded and said, the immortal roots have been planted. Senior sister, tell me the origin and magical uses of this immortal root. Regarding immortal roots, Wu Yu was very curious. The most important things in their realm were qi condensation and immortal roots. Now he knew what qi condensation was about, but he still didn't understand the immortal roots. He needs 3 magic sources before he can plant immortal roots, so he must understand it in advance. Su Yanli was very patient and began to tell him. The immortal root is a wonderful thing. It may be a kind of fairy spirit, such as the raw fruit that Zhang Junlin took away, such as the red sparkle, and the windchi fruit. It may also be a kind of treasure, such as the ice soul, gold, and jade sword heart, etc. Immortal roots belong to fairy spirits or treasures. They can be used like fairy spirits and treasures to make elixirs or refine magic weapons. However, Most people will not do this. If they are all spiritual lines, the value of the fairy roots is more than 10 times that of ordinary immortals. As the name suggests, the most magical thing about immortal roots is that it is a kind of spiritual seed that can combine with the human body, take root, and become a part of our body. Wu Yu listened carefully and did not interrupt. Su Yanli then gave an example and said, I have previously obtained a kind of immortal root that is most suitable for me. It is called the golden jade sword heart. It is the core part born from the golden jade rock, in the shape of a sword. The shape is that of a very rare fairy root. In fact, it is difficult to determine whether a fairy or treasure is a fairy root. The fairy roots we know now were all tried by our ancestors with their lives. Once a non-fairy root is planted, if you lose the immortal spirit, you will lose a huge opportunity. Your future immortal roots will be checked by your master, so don't worry. Immortal roots are particularly important. When I reached the 5th level of Qi condensation realm, I used the secret method of planting immortal roots to plant the immortal roots in the Qi C point, allowing my body to merge with the golden jade sword heart. From now on, the golden jade sword heart will be a part of my body. The characteristics it possesses will be amplified by me. For example, you see. When Su Yanli said this, she stretched out a finger. Suddenly, the finger turned into a golden jade in front of Wu Yu's eyes, and then turned into a sword. Shape. I am the golden jade sword heart, and the golden jade sword heart is me. Su Yanli smiled slightly, and his fingers returned to normal. However, it was hard for Wu Yu to forget the sharp sword energy that erupted from this finger just now. I didn't expect that the immortal root could be so magical. There are hundreds of millions of immortal root types in this world, some good and some bad. For example, the fruit that Zhang Junlin snatched can bring strong regeneration power to the body. It is said that a broken arm can be reborn, such as Feng Qi. The fruit can make a cultivator be like the wind, speeding up greatly, surpassing cultivators of the same level. There are also many incredible abilities. I don't know much about them, but it is true that the most amazing immortal root is suitable for me. It can greatly enhance the cultivation qualifications and enhance the combat effectiveness. At this point, Wu Yu almost completely understood. It turns out that immortal roots are so magical. Having good immortal roots is like a second life. Actually, I have just experienced the magical effect of the golden jade sword heart, but I haven't learned much about it. Master told me that there are so many things that the golden jade sword heart can mine. After hearing what Su Yanli said, Wu Yu also began to look forward to what kind of immortal root he would get. If you want to communicate with the madman about the plot, please add my WeChat, Fengqinjiang 17K. Or search, Fengqing Yang. In addition, the game Swallowing the Sky has been developed simultaneously and is a large-scale production, so stay tuned. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read early, and keep abreast of the latest information. /U003C /E /U003E /U003C /E /U003E. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 82. Now he only has 2 qi condensing pills in hand. Even if he uses them all, there is no way to add a magic source, so Wu Yu keeps them for now. After Su Yanli left, he began to think about his own cultivation path. I am still 3 magic sources away from the immortal root, but from now on, I have to prepare to find the immortal root. Su Yanli left him a book called the Immortal Root Codex, which introduced tens of thousands of common immortal roots. Wu Yu was prepared to spend some time understanding it. If he encountered immortal roots in the future, he would have a greater chance of getting them. The first level of the Vajra indestructible body can only allow me to use the Qi condensing pill to quickly condense 2 Dharma sources. Next, I need to settle and condense the Qi steadily, so that the Dharma source can be stable. Don't act too hastily. Besides, I'm a poor guy now and don't have many qi condensing pills. At least Feng Xiao would not give himself the qi condensation pill. The first is fairness, and the second is to hone Wu Yu's own abilities. However, if I want to have the method of indestructible body and strengthen my physical fitness again to a level that is beyond the reach of ordinary qi condensation realm, I can absorb the qi condensation pill and quickly open the source of the law. Of course, now the entire Kishan peak is rich in spiritual energy, coupled with Wu Yu's extraordinary quality. The speed of absorbing and condensing spiritual energy is beyond ordinary people. In a few months, or even half a year, it is estimated that the third Shenman point will be able to be condensed success. From the immortal root ceremony given by Su Yanli, Wu Yu thought of the fruit. The function of the fruit is regeneration. It is already a very extraordinary immortal root. However, Zhang Junlin said that his father had peerless immortal roots, which was obviously more not simple. Zhang Junlin was defeated by me, but his injuries were not fatal. If he opens another magic source, he can plant the so-called peerless immortal root, and I may still be left behind by him. The other party claimed that he would kill him next time they met. He was obviously confident. No wonder he didn't come to deal with Wu Yu during that month. He was probably in a hurry to plant immortal roots. Nowadays, mana requires steady flow and smooth forging. While Wu Yu was thinking about the incredible body holding technique, he felt that it was time to go to the Taoist pagoda to ask for a Taoist technique. Daodao Peak is near Tongtian Peak. Wu Yu rode the crane and landed in the Daodao Peak. There were servants here to take care of the crane. Wu Yu went up the path to the Daodao Tower. This is the headmaster's direct disciple Wu Yu. I heard that he just returned from the mortal fairyland. Last time, I heard an immortal talk about how he smashed Situ Ming Lang, the supreme protector disciple, at the immortal fighting platform. This boy is really brave and brave. I really envy him. He used to be a handyman, and he worked his way up to where he is now. He is the idol of all our handymen. Wu Yu has a huge reputation among the handymen, outer disciples, and other groups. He is more popular than many core disciples, and his popularity is almost the same as that of Su Yanli and others. Whether it was the handyman or the outer disciples who saw him, they all looked at him with envy and admiration. If he meets a core disciple, he will also talk to Wu Yu, say hello, and build a good relationship with Wu Yu. Only core disciples can come to the Taoist pagoda. There are very few people on weekdays, and Wu Yu has not met any other core disciples along the way. After walking briskly for a while, we reached the highest point of Daodao Peak, surrounded by clouds and mist. In the clouds and mist, we could vaguely see a tall tower that seemed to be made of bronze, pressing on Daodao Peak like a mountain. It's not that Daodao Peak is huge enough to bear the Daodao Tower. A closer look shows that the surface of this ancient bronze tower is full of traces of time, and even has some moss and vines growing on it, but this cannot conceal its majesty and domineeringness. Wu Yu did not stop and walk directly into the tower. It was a little dark inside. It was a small room with no furnishings, only a futon, and an old Taoist priest sat on it, practicing with his eyes closed. This is an elder who specially guards this pagoda. Wu Yu doesn't know his name, he only knows that he is a big shot in the Tongtian sword sect. It is said that the rule of this Taoist pagoda is that the elder cannot be disturbed. Generally, the core disciples who pass through here will be cautious. Looking inside again, there is a bronze door, which is ajar at this time. There's no one inside. If someone is challenging the first level of the question tower, this bronze door should be closed. This means Wu Yu can go in directly. Generally, martial arts masters are hidden in the deep mountains and old forests. This old Taoist priest must be one of them. Wu Yu passed him and walked directly into the first level of the Taoist tower. Then he closed the bronze door. From beginning to end, the old Taoist priest didn't open his eyes either. After walking in, I realized that this Taoist tower is so huge. The first floor is about 10 feet high and hundreds of feet wide. It can accommodate at least tens of thousands of people. But in such a huge place, the number of people who challenge here every time, there can only be one. Unless the person succeeds in the challenge and enters the Sutra Pavilion, or exits, or goes to the second floor of the Taoist tower, the second person can come in. In this pagoda, most of the columns, walls, and floors are made of bronze, which is extremely hard. But even so, because people have been challenging here for many years, there are potholes and traces everywhere. It can be imagined that it was once how many people have challenged this Taoist tower. It is currently empty, but there is a beam on the ceiling in the center. There is a female disciple sitting on the beam at this time. She is holding a bronze mirror in her hand, covering her face, but she has long hair like a waterfall and a very graceful figure. Two round and slender thighs were dangling in the air, very lively. She was probably dressing herself up with rouge, bronze mirrors, etc. When Wu Yu came in, she didn't look too much and tapped a raised ball on the beam with the toes of her long legs. For a moment, Wu Yu I felt the vibration of the Taoist tower. The challenge has begun. This core disciple of the Qi condensing realm is here specifically to assist other disciples in their challenges. It is said that this kind of job still needs to be fought for, and he should be able to receive one more Qi condensing pill every month. It is a job that is more exciting than being a supervisor in the fairyland. For example, this female disciple's job is to start the challenge, and then clean up the scene after the challenge. After triggering the mechanism, the female disciple continued to hold the bronze mirror and pose in front of it. She looked pretty good, similar to Yagayu who was killed by Wu Yu before, and she was a sexy and seductive type. Boom boom boom. There was a wall in front of him. At this time, the bronze wall sank. When there was a commotion, Wu Yu could see the scene behind the wall. There was something that Wu Yu wanted to challenge. If it doesn't work, just call for help, and my sister will stop the machine. Be smart and don't lose your life. The woman continued to fiddle with her hair and said casually. Wu Yu was already attracted by what he saw in front of him and didn't even hear what she said. This thing is the wooden winged flying tiger. It's really amazing. Frankly speaking, this is a tiger that is 2 feet tall and several feet long. However, it is made up of thousands of large and small wooden blocks assembled and spliced together. Some of the wooden blocks can be assembled into such a majestic form. The tiger is already a superb skill in itself. The secret technique of creating this kind of tiger is called the secret technique of mechanism in the monastic world. When he was in the mortal world, Wu Yu had some understanding of the secret art of organs. The crossbows, catapults, etc. on the battlefield were actually the prototype of the secret art of organs. There were also several people in the army who were good at the secret art of organs. Talented people are very smart and can often create incredible mechanisms to influence the situation of the battle. Of course, the mechanism they created was far from the wooden winged flying tiger in front of them. Their mechanism consists of hundreds of pieces of wood and steel at most, but this wooden winged flying tiger has thousands of pieces. However, there is not much difference in the number of wooden blocks alone. The key is that there is a magic circle on the top of the wooden wing flying tiger's head. This magic circle is the core of the organ secret technique. It is said that there are many types of magic arrays, such as the talisman array used on talismans, the magic weapon array used on magic weapons, the defensive array and attack array used between heaven and earth, etc. The organization array on the organ is also one of them. This kind of magic circle can simply transform a dead object like a mechanism into a living thing. Even the mechanism with the magic circle as its core can perform Taoist magic. The wooden winged flying tiger in front of you has a giant power formation above your head, which can make this ordinary wooden mechanism possess the power of tens of thousands of war horses, just like a real demon tiger. This wooden winged flying tiger it is not difficult to go out and tear Tianyun Peng Hema apart. It is said that many core disciples who have just condensed their energy come to challenge, but they cannot pass the level of wood-wing flying tiger. In the realm of Jindan Dao, I use elixir fire to make elixirs, but I still can't really understand the magic circle. I can only copy some small magic circles and use them on talismans, magic weapons, and mechanisms. It is said that copying and real carving are different, and the power is also different. The power of real carvings and instruments can be devastating. For example, Feng Shuiya can now make elixirs, but in terms of weapon refining, he can only create talismans, magic weapons, and mechanisms through copying. There is a saying that the magic circle is more mysterious than Taoism. The magical weapons, mechanisms, and talismans between heaven and earth are all born from the magic circle. The bag of rice, the demon subduing stick, the wooden-winged flying tiger, the divine amulet, everywhere is the mystery created by the magic circle. Of course, Wu Yu knew the information about this Tao Dao tower in advance, otherwise he would not be so familiar with this wooden-winged flying tiger. The first level is to face this wooden-winged flying tiger. The huge mouth of the wooden-winged flying tiger opened, and it actually let out a real tiger roar. When it rushed towards the ground on all fours, it had the true charm of a tiger. In Wu Yu's opinion, this sense of oppression was incompatible with his true relationship with the demon. Fighting, there is almost no difference. Boom boom boom. The wooden-winged flying tiger also has a pair of wooden wings that can fly at low altitudes. The force of this attack is incredible. The female disciple above her was not surprised and was still dressing herself up. She has not seen Wu Yu yet. Bang bang bang. The first time he fought against the wood-winged flying tiger, Wu Yu was not willing to destroy it at once. But there is no way, what he wants to challenge today is the fourth level. Snap! With one stroke of the stick, the huge wooden-winged flying tiger was cut in half. For a moment, the sky was filled with various pieces of wood and sawdust. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read early, and keep abreast of the latest information /U003C/E /U003E /U003C/E /U003E. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 83. After the wooden-winged flying tiger fell apart, only the head was still intact, and the giant power formation was not affected. As long as the wooden blocks were assembled again, the wooden-winged flying tiger could come to life again. Wu Yu put away the demon-subduing stick and was about to climb up the stairs to the second level. Taiwan Novel Network. Rightward arrow. Crack. Suddenly, a bronze mirror fell in front of Wu Yu's eyes and broke into pieces. When he raised his head, he saw the female disciple who had been dressing up before was looking at him with shock on her face. She probably didn't expect Wu Yu to be the one waiting to defeat the wood-wing flying tiger, otherwise she wouldn't have been so cold. Are you Wu Yu? The woman fell from the sky, and her long skirt deliberately floated up, allowing Wu Yu to see the beautiful scenery under her skirt. Is something wrong? Wu Yu asked. It's okay, I just want to get acquainted with you. My name is. The female disciple winked and introduced herself in a very charming way. She seemed to want to get closer to her at first sight. Her pair of talking eyes had already given a lot of hints. In the Tongtian sword sect, Wu Yu's status as a direct disciple is a symbol of dignity. Next time, I'm going to challenge the second level. Wu Yu turned around and went up in a hurry, leaving the female disciple looking regretfully at the wooden blocks on the ground and saying madly, "It turned out to be Wu Yu. He must have blamed me for not paying attention to him just now. If I had discovered it was him earlier and had been more enthusiastic towards him, he would probably have a crush on me. Now I can only look at Wu Yu's leaving figure and regret it. To Wu Yu, this female disciple was just a sideshow. After he went up to the second floor, there was a small room in front of him. There was a male disciple in black clothes. When Wu Yu came in, he raised his head and took a look and said, "It turns out to be you. There is no one on the second floor. It's okay to challenge." Wu Yu remembered him. During the entrance examination and the Battle of Tongxian Road, it was this disciple in black who led Wu Yu into Tongxian Road. This disciple in black was an aloof person and did not deliberately try to please Wu Yu because of his identity. As for Wu Yu's unparalleled progress, this is well known. The disciples in black were surprised and shocked when they watched Wu Yu defeat Situming Lang. Wu Yu was entering through the half-open bronze door. "There is a steel armor giant inside, be careful," the disciple in black warned. "Thank you." The so-called steel armor giant is actually a type of mechanism, but the material is no longer wood, but tougher and harder bronze steel, and even some precious metals, such as the red flame gold used to forge the demon subduing stick. When Wu Yu entered, the disciple in black pressed a mechanism and released the steel armor giant. It was a 2-foot-tall steel giant. Wu Yu stood in front of him, just reaching the opponent's knees. The material of the body of the steel armor giant should be the same as that of the Tao Dao pagoda. It is dark blue in color and has sword marks left on it by disciples of the Tongtian sword sect over the years. He is holding a big sword in his hand. It is estimated that one knife can cut off the wooden-winged flying tiger. At the center of his eyebrows, there is an organic array called the eye surge array. When this array is in operation, a layer of ice will form on the steel giant's body, and the ice will spread even to the ground. Everything became extremely cold. The steel armor giant can already unleash Taoist magic. Generally, those at the second level of the Qi condensation realm may not be able to defeat the steel armor giant. However, for Wu Yu, such a violent confrontation was not difficult. He completed the battle with 2 or 3 blows of the demon subduing stick, beating the steel giant until he could not move. Sharp. The disciples in black came in and were responsible for cleaning up the steel armor giant and taking it to the secret room for repairs. Wu Yu smiled at him. Although he was only at the second level of Qi condensation realm, he wanted to challenge to the 4th level and enter the 4th level's Tibetan scripture pavilion to find a Taoist technique. "You want to continue going up?" the disciple in black asked curiously. "Yes." "Awesome, there are 2 iron-winged flying dragons in the 3rd level. I will die if I go up there. However, I heard that after the iron-winged flying dragon was destroyed last time, before it was repaired, the lonely elder found Ning, a disciple at the 3rd level of the Qi realm, is in charge. If you defeat him, you have passed the 3rd level. The situation in the 4th level seems to be similar, and the disciple is directly in charge. Elder Loneliness should be the old Taoist priest Wu Yu met just now. Is the iron-winged flying dragon not repaired? This was beyond Wu Yu's expectation. He checked the information on the 3rd and 4th floors and was well prepared to deal with the iron-winged flying dragon and the 5-headed 5-elements giant bear on the 4th floor. Unexpectedly, Iron-Wing the flying dragon and the 5-elements giant bear were replaced, and instead they had to fight other core disciples. Frankly speaking, fighting with people is more troublesome than fighting with agencies. If you come back in a few days, maybe the iron-winged flying dragon will be repaired. The disciple in black was thinking about him. It doesn't matter. In fact, Wu Yu just wanted to see the iron-winged flying dragon and the 5-element giant bear, but his real goal was to obtain a Taoist skill, so it didn't matter who his opponent was. He bid farewell to the disciple in black and went up to the 3rd floor instead of entering the treasure pavilion on the 2nd floor. After reaching the 3rd floor, there is still a small room with a futon. Sitting on the futon is a disciple in white, with a long sword on his lap. The sword is full of energy. He is the most standard disciple of the Tongtian sword section. Wu Yu, You are at the second level of Qi condensation realm. What are you doing here? The disciple in white opened his eyes and said somewhat arrogantly. Naturally, not every core disciple is convinced by Wu Yu's status as his direct disciple. For example, the person in front of me. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. The third level of challenge, seeing that the door was ajar, Wu Yu was about to go in, etc. The disciple in white suddenly stood up and raised the long sword. This man was slender, good-looking, and heroic. He held a long sword and had the aura to wield it all over the world. You have no right to stop me anyway. There was no one on the third floor, so Wu Yu didn't know what he was doing to stop him. I will not stop you from seeking abuse. I am your opponent. The disciple in white gave him a cold look, passed him, and walked into the third floor. Because the iron-winged flying dragon is not here, there is no need to activate the mechanism. I see. The white-clothed disciple was walking in front, and suddenly turned around. The long sword, a magic weapon, had been drawn out from the scabbard. It was a long sword like white jade, with clouds and mist surrounding it. Wu Yu could see that this man's Taoist skills it should have something to do with the cloud. The Taoist techniques of the Tongtian sword sect are almost all close range and sword oriented, which is very different from the Xuanhuan Taoist section. For example, the fire tornado technique of the Haoshan Immortal is not available here. This disciple in white has opened the Tanzong A appointment, Shenting A appointment, and Shenmen A appointment on both hands. He is a person at the third level of Qi condensation realm. Wu Yu, bring your horse over here. The disciple in white stretched out his long sword, and the sword energy suddenly spread across the sky. The sword force was like clouds flying, forming an illusion, as if this person was already hidden in the clouds. Oh, then I'm not welcome. It was indeed difficult to defeat Immortal Haoshan at the beginning, but it is different now. Whoosh! Wu Yu stepped on the bronze floor and flew towards his opponent like an arrow. A golden light pierced the clouds, like a scorching sun penetrating the clouds. Cloud and Mist sword, the disciple in white raised the shadow of his sword with murderous intent. Break. Wu Yu had no moves at all. He combined his magic power with his physical strength to instantly lock the position of the opponent's long sword. The trajectory of this magic power was so obvious that he couldn't hide it from his eyes. When the long sword and the demon subduing stick collide, bite. With a crisp sound, the long sword was released and flew hundreds of feet. Wu Yu turned around and the demon subduing stick hit the white-clothed disciple's chest and abdomen. He immediately flew 10 feet away and rolled to the ground. Senior brother, I accept the offer. Wu Yu neatly put away the demon stick and looked at the disciple in white with a faint smile. At this time, the disciple in white was staggering to his feet, wide-eyed, looking at Wu Yu in disbelief, and said, I didn't expect the power of your body, is still so powerful, no wonder he was able to kill Ming Ming without concentrating his energy. His eyes were full of defeat. He called Situ Ming Lang this way, which seemed to have something to do with Situ Ming Lang. You can defeat me, who is at the third level of the Qi condensation realm, now, and you will be able to do the same in the future. The disciple in white was still in shock, unable to calm down, and even feared Wu Yu. Wu Yu didn't say much, just passed him, and then picked his long sword back. You defeated me and are qualified to enter the third level of the Sutra Pavilion. The disciple in white said reluctantly. However, when he was shocked, Wu Yu bypassed the scripture collection pavilion and climbed up the stairs. Wu Yu, what do you want to do? The disciple in white asked in surprise, but after he finished speaking, Wu Yu had already reached the fourth level and did not answer him, but his actions made it obvious that he wanted to challenge the fourth level. The fourth level is Wu Yu's real goal. When he was on the stairs, he heard people talking and laughing, men and women, and they seemed to be talking loudly. Our Tongtian sword sect has so much spiritual energy. The five of us will definitely be stronger in the future, and we can even condense the golden elixir. Our Tongtian sword sect is really about to rise. Apparently, they were very excited. What's the use of rising up? The five of us have cultivated to this level all by our own strength, and we don't have the protection of master. From the beginning, others said that our qualifications are not good. It's not because we practiced hard and ignored the ridicule that we are where we are today. The way we practice is really hard. Some people can easily surpass us with the protection of master. We must stand out and let everyone see that they looked down on the five of us because they were blind. That's right. This 3 times more spiritual energy is our opportunity. Brothers and sisters, let's work hard together. We want to surpass Mo Shishu, surpass Su Yanli, surpass Lan Shuiyu, Zhao Changtian, and Yi Qingfeng. Okay, everyone, shut up and don't let anyone hear you. Finally, someone interrupted their conversation, possibly because they heard the sound of Wu Yu walking up. When Wu Yu arrived at the small room on the 4th floor, 5 disciples stood up, 3 men and 2 women, looking at Wu Yu with unkind expressions. The first person to challenge us is here. Who is it? They scrambled to look forward. When they saw Wu Yu, they fell silent. It's him, the youngest direct disciple of the headmaster. It is said that he just came back and was given the mountain peak. Wu Yu faced the 5 of them. Looking around, it turned out to be the 3rd level of the 5 Qi condensation realms. They will guard this 4th level, replacing the 5 elements giant bear. Wu Yu, come in. The leading man said something coldly and led his team to the 4th floor first. A big battle is about to begin. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ public account 17K, ID, Love 17K, to read the latest news and get the latest information at any time. /U003C/E /U003E /U003C/E /U003E. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 84. Wu Yu followed the 5 of them and stepped into the 4th floor of the Dao Pagoda. The 5 people in front turned around in the center, spread out, and surrounded Wu Yu in the middle with indifferent expressions. Looking at them, 3 men and 2 women, they are all core disciples of the 3rd level of Qi condensation realm. Each one of them should be as capable as the immortal Haoshan. The Tanzong A appointment, the Shenting A appointment, and the Shenman A appointment on both hands have all opened their magic sources. They have practiced the Qi condensation technique and have quite powerful magical power. Disciples of this level, looking at the entire Tongtian sword sect, are considered elite disciples, and they will be the real mainstay of the Tongtian sword sect in the next few decades. However, their attitude towards Wu Yu was not very friendly, and there was even a sense of jealousy and disdain in their bones. The leader of the man is tall and tall, standing out like a wall. He is wearing a white gold Taoist robe. His strong muscles crowd the large Taoist robe. What is more visually impactful is the golden giant sword he holds in his hand. The tip of the giant sword rests on the ground, the blade is 4 feet long, as wide as a palm, the golden light shines, and it is full of domineering metal, wood, water, fire, earth. Wu Yu glanced over and could roughly understand what these 5 people were good at from their aura, magical weapons and swords, and their clothing. As the saying goes, there are 5 elements in heaven and earth, and people also have 5 elements. For example, Wu Yu, among the 5 elements, gold and fire are prominent, and water is weak, resulting in his fierce and direct character. Similar to the burly man headed by the other party. Some of the other attributes are transformed by the 5 elements, such as clouds, wind, and lightning. Some even escape outside the 5 elements, which is incredible. And the 5 of them getting together is probably not a coincidence, but they have practiced some kind of method. The tall and thin woman was holding a wooden sword, but it was definitely a magic weapon. That delicate woman holds a water-like sword and can actually change its shape. There were two other men, one was as fat as a mountain and weighed more than the first man. The other one was very thin and his long hair was as unkempt as a fire. Without saying a word, the 5 people occupied the position of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, surrounding Wu Yu in the middle. Looking at their eyes, they must have wanted to torture Wu Yu. Wu Yu, I'll give you one last chance to think about it. The 5 of us in the 5 elements sword formation have even defeated the 4th level of Qi condensation realm. It's hard for those at the 4th level of Qi condensation realm to defeat us. With your ability and status, if we accidentally hit you hard, you will be punished by the elders. If you are afraid, get out immediately. The leading man said coldly. Very good. They are the purpose of Wu Yu coming here today. If you want to get the best Taoism, you must go through such challenges. Wu Yu can indeed feel their abilities, but for the former martial arts fanatic, this is the challenge he longs for. The opponents on the first 3 floors are all out of his reach. Bang! The dark golden demon subduing stick stood on the ground and burst into flames. The disciples of the Tongtian sword sect learn mostly Taoist techniques related to swords, and these 5 are no exception. Snort. The other party sneered. Brothers and sisters, let's see what this headmaster's direct disciple can do together. It's best not to embarrass the headmaster. Maybe, we can also be the disciples of the headmaster. While they were talking, their swords were already pointed at Wu Yu. They seemed to have a way of joining forces to attack. We must not let them surround us. Wu Yu once marched and fought, and he knew the role of battle formations in his heart. Once he fell into the battle formation designed by the opponent, he could only become a turtle in the urn. This was a challenge that he didn't have much confidence in. Break. Therefore, before the other party made a move, he took action directly. The demon subduing stick in his hand traced a golden trajectory and exploded instantly, making a clanking sound. Slay the dragon against heaven. Because he had no Taoist skills, he could only use the best martial arts. The heaven-defying dragon-slaying stick was thrust out like a sword, with only one target, the swordsman who was good at wood. They call themselves the 5 elements swordsmen, so let's call this one the wooden swordsman. Fighting alone, they are no match for Wu Yu. Don't let him escape. At the moment Wu Yu made his move, the burly golden swordsman shouted loudly and swung his golden giant sword towards him. For a moment, it was like the top of a mountain. The wooden swordsman stepped on his feet. The 5 people moved almost at the same time. The 5 elements sword the formation was activated instantly. The 5 of them had probably been training for many years. At this time, they were like a unit. Wu Yu's attack on the wooden swordsman felt as if he was sinking into a quagmire. Take action. The 5 of them quickly circled around Wu Yu, changing positions. The 5 magical swords were like 5 demonic snakes, always staring at Wu Yu, and rushing up to bite Wu Yu from time to time. The so-called direct disciples of the headmaster are actually nothing more than that. After a round of siege, Wu Yu resisted in a panic, with several deep sword marks on his body, so the water swordsman smiled strangely. Not as good as 1/10 of the big brother. The fire swordsman sneered. Wu Yu's face was calm, while he was repelling the attack, he was meditating. They have been training for many years to hone this 5 elements sword formation into one. The 5 of them combined are equivalent to the 4th level of Qi condensation realm. It is really powerful. He didn't know much about the sword formation. In fact, the sword formation was one of the extensive and profound arrays and belonged to the attack array. However, the real attack array was naturally capable of destroying heaven and earth. Yes, the 5 elements sword formation of these 5 people should have been simplified several times and copied. This chapter is not finished yet, Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Of course, even learning the surface seems to be difficult enough. The magic circle is still far away from Wu Yu. He doesn't dare to think too much. Now he just wants a Taoist technique that truly belongs to him. Break. The magic stick defeated the golden swordsman head-on, leaving his arms numb and his mouth bleeding. Only then did Wu Yu have a chance to breathe. But at this time, the opponent attacked again, and the attack was like a violent storm. The endless array of Taoist techniques really opened Wu Yu's eyes. Compared with the Taoist techniques of the Xuanhuan Taoist sect, the Taoist techniques of the Tongtian sword sect require more close-range execution, and many of them require the use of magic weapons such as long swords. Mountain opening technique. The golden light was dazzling, and the golden swordsman regarded Wu Yu as a big mountain and beheaded him. Fireworks. The mist is filled with water, and there is a little cold light hidden in it. That is the tip of the sword. Xuanhuan. The sword power turned into a flaming rope and wrapped around Wu Yu's body. The various Taoist techniques work together seamlessly. Although not as powerful as the fire tornado technique of Immortal Xuanhuan, the combination is even more deadly. After the battle, Wu Yu already had a lot of wounds on his body. The attacks of magic power are really difficult to deal with. Even though I have the first level of the indestructible body, I can't withstand such a persistent attack. Unless my indestructible body is stronger. It's a pity that Ming Long won't give me the second level of the indestructible body. Regarding the conditions proposed by Ming Long, Wu Yu was very cautious. He was not willing to owe too much to others. He was not sure whether he would be able to repay what he owed now in the future. If I have the second level of the Vajra indestructible body and complete my cultivation, I can not only get more qi condensing pills, but also directly use the qi condensing pills to condense qi. If I encounter a situation like today, I will be invulnerable and will not be forced. Today's level. The 5 elements sword formation was too powerful. Although Wu Yu's body had a strong recovery ability, it could not withstand such devastation from the Taoist arts. This made Wu Yu realize his shortcomings. The body holding technique cannot be used frequently. Firstly, it needs to be further studied, and secondly, it must be used as a life-saving means that not many people know about. This is like a forbidden Taoist technique. It is best not to use it until the critical moment. You can only rely on yourself. After thinking about it, he decided to fight. Immortal Ape Transformation. In the eyes of the 5 elements swordsman, Wu Yu skyrocketed out of thin air and transformed directly into a tall golden immortal ape. The golden hair, eyes like the scorching sun, and the shining swastika on the back were all frightening and shocking. After the immortal ape transformation, although the mana was not increased, the physical fitness, strength, defense, speed, etc. were all improved. What's more important is a change in power. To the 5 people around him, Wu Yu is now more like a beast, cruel and violent, affecting the mind. A magic stick. Wu Yu only stared at the golden swordsman and ignored all other Taoist techniques. He's crazy, get him. The golden swordsman and Wu Yu collided head-on. The golden sword fell out of his hand and flew out, with his arm almost broken. The other 4's Taoist skills were like a storm, bombarding Wu Yu's body. Before, Wu Yu could only resist desperately, but the golden swordsman would soon recover and join the battle, but Wu Yu didn't this time. He rushed directly through the Taoist attack like crazy, and hit the ground hard. After passing by, the demon subduing stick swept forward and hit the golden swordsman head-on. The opponent groaned and fainted. Whoosh! Wu Yu suddenly turned around, and the remaining 4 were frightened back 3 steps by him. At this time, Wu Yu was like a golden god of war. Just now, he was stabbed into his body by 2 magical swords, but now he could see with his own eyes that the wounds were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Ah! This scene made the remaining 4 take a step back again, their faces grim. Are you coming again? Wu Yu's fiery eyes swept over him. Kill. They were not frightened directly. The four of them looked at each other and came to kill them. However, at this time, their five elements sword formation was broken and its power was greatly reduced. The four of them were no match for Wu Yu. They had not even had 10 breaths of time. The four of them he had already fallen to the ground, howling like a ghost. You lost. Wu Yu tried his best to stabilize his mind and return to his normal appearance. He changed his clothes, put the demon-subduing stick behind his back, and walked past the 5 people. The remaining 4 who were awake looked at him with some trembling. They suddenly understood that to be able to become the headmaster's direct disciples, one must not only have outstanding talent, but also must be outstanding in will. They crawled out of the way and looked at Wu Yu with awe in their eyes. All their ambitions had been put aside now. In front of Wu Yu's eyes was the 4th floor of the treasure pavilion. The first Taoist skill that belongs to me, Wu Yu, is here. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read early, and keep abreast of the latest information /U003C/E /U003E /U003C/E /U003E. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng-Qing Yang. Chapter 85. Do you want the second level of indestructible body? It just so happens that I have practiced this method before. Before Wu Yu entered the scripture collection pavilion, Ming Long suddenly asked. However, listening to her tone, you knew she had some ideas. What conditions? Wu Yu understood her now and got straight to the point. To be honest, he really wanted it. Ming Long chuckled and said, don't be so direct. It makes me feel embarrassed, as if I'm an unparalleled monster, and I'm trying to do something for you. So, can you give it to me directly? Wu Yu said. This is definitely not possible. Businesses must follow rules. Well, I have a small request. After I am reborn, you have to help me once. This time, no matter what I ask you to do, you have to do it for me. No need to discuss. Wu Yu doesn't even know whether she is good or bad now. He can't help her once. If she asks Wu Yu to kill mortals, he will definitely not do it. Hey, you stupid monkey, you don't even want this indestructible body, Ming Tong was angry. Wu Yu thought for a while and said, I have my own principles. I will not agree to this kind of uncertainty. Furthermore, since the Ruyi Golden Cudgel has chosen me as its successor, you are just above it. An accident, I think, the great sage will personally pass on to me what I need. He didn't believe it. He could get the first level, so why couldn't he get the second level? Damn it! I'm so angry, you little bastard is really rebelling, huh? Just be stubborn. I want to see how you get the second level. Mingtaki was so angry that she stamped her feet and cursed for a long time. Seeing that Wu Yu ignored her and continued to scold her for a long time, asking for boredom, she shut up. Wu Yu had thought about how to get along with Ming Long. He was not familiar with it at the moment. He couldn't just agree to her conditions randomly for the sake of greed. Who knew if there might be a trap? At present, the high-level celestial immortal technique and body-holding technique are quite good. Sometimes, Wu Yu would try to communicate with the Ruyi Golden Cudgel, and he could feel the existence of this divine object in his body. While Na Ming Long was cursing, Wu Yu had already opened the door to the scripture depository pavilion and walked in. There is a huge space inside, with hundreds of candles lit, and the light is still not bright. The surrounding walls are full of shadows of bookshelves. Looking around, there are hundreds of bookshelves, and there are various scrolls on the bookshelves. Some are brand new, some are old, and every scroll among them is a Taoist technique. Although there are many Taoist techniques, For the main Taoist skills and the entire Qi condensation realm, it is enough to practice within 5 disciplines. If you are greedy for too much, you will delay the Qi condensation and abandon the basics to pursue the weak. Therefore, it is especially important for Wu Yu to choose the first Taoist skill now. He must thoroughly study the first Taoist skill before he can consider the second one. The rules of the Dao Pagoda are that every time you challenge, you will get an opportunity to enter the Sutra Pavilion on that floor, and you can only take away one Taoist technique. You can challenge the same floor twice at most, and take away 2 Taoist techniques. The entire Taoist pagoda, the tower, can only take away 10 Taoist techniques at most. These are all controlled by Elder Dugu. You can learn up to 10 Taoist techniques in total, and you can learn up to 2 on each level. It's time to challenge the 5th level next time, so I will only come here once. The more remaining places I reserve, the better. Wu Yu had already planned these. Now I have a new understanding of the power of the Monkey King. He is a god in heaven. Wu Yu is now confident that at least he will have no problem reaching the Golden Core realm. His vision is already much higher than that of other core disciples. Wu Yu gets excited every time he thinks about how powerful he is. Of course, no one can say this, including Feng Shui. If it spreads, you will definitely die. Wu Yu was thinking as he looked at the scrolls on the bookshelf. This was the 4th floor of the Sutra Pavilion, and the Taoist techniques displayed there were much stronger than the thunder control technique. Is there anyone? Wu Yu hadn't taken 2 steps into the dim scripture depository pavilion when he felt someone coming in from behind. It was less than 10 breaths since he came in. I just finished challenging the 4th floor. Logically speaking, the next challenger has to wait until the 5 of them have rested before challenging. Only after they succeed can they enter. Why did they enter directly? This is breaking the rules. When Wu Yu came to his senses, the man happened to push open the door of the scripture collection pavilion and walked into Wu Yu's field of vision. Although the light was dim, the woman in front of him felt radiant. She was wearing a blue sword robe, her hair was tied up in a bunch, she had a beautiful nose and eyebrows, bright eyes, and white teeth. She had a sense of cleverness in her bones. She was young and old. Wu Yu looks similar, but he has a good figure. Although he is not as beautiful as a fairy like Xuanhuan, he is more youthful, energetic, and lovable. Blue Water Moon. Wu Yu naturally knew her. This woman is the direct disciple of Supreme Protector Lan Huayun. She ranks 4th and is the one closest to Situ Minglang. It is said that she is still related to Lan Huayun, and someone once heard her calling Lan Huayun her aunt. To be honest, in this Tongtian sword sect, Lan Huayun is a veritable little princess. She is the center of attention wherever she goes. Because she is protected by Lan Huayun, she has a bit of a temper. She is the one that the entire Tongtian sword sect cannot mess with. One of the people. Wu Yu had met her before when he and Situ Minglang had a conflict. When Wu Yu killed Situ Jin, she was right behind Situ Minglang. She was also present at the Battle of Doziantai, and made Wu Yu very angry. However, to Wu Yu at that time, she was a person of Su Yanli's level, and he had no intention of provoking her. Now that he saw her here, he checked again and found that Lan Shuiyu should be at the 4th level of Qi condensation realm, and Zhang Junlin is on a different level, and the immortal roots have not yet been planted. The location of the 4th source of Dharma is called Taekong Point, which is located on the dorsal side of the foot, in the depression before the junction of the 1st and 2nd metatarsal bones. There is one on each left and right foot. Therefore, this 4th source of Dharma is actually divided into the 2 halves, taken together, are a complete source of law. At the 4th level, the chest, head, hands, and feet each have a Dharma source. It can be said that Lan Shuiyu's status in Tongtian sword sect is not much different from Zhang Junlin's status in Xuanhuan Dao section. It is said that the 2nd and 3rd disciples of the Supreme Protector are also headed by Lan Shuiyu. Although they are far stronger than Lan Shuiyu, Wu Yu didn't expect that he would be here and suddenly meet her face to face. Looking behind her, the Five Elements swordsman was getting up helplessly. I was afraid that if Lan Shuiyu was about to come in, they wouldn't be able to stop him. After all, they had just been defeated by Wu Yu. Wu Yu, it's you. When Lan Shuiyu saw the people inside clearly, his expression suddenly changed, like ice, and even the temperature of the entire Sutra Pavilion dropped. According to the rules of the Taoist Tower, I just defeated them and they haven't finished resting yet. You can't challenge them, let alone come in. Wu Yu was a little displeased with her breaking the rules. Who do you think you are, you still care about me? Lan Shuiyu said, closing the door with a bang, walking in and blocking the Five Elements swordsman outside. What are the rules? I came in here 5 times and took away 7 Taoist techniques. Who wants to care about me? Talk to my master. Lan Shuiyu smiled coldly and passed Wu Yu with a gust of cold wind, preparing to choose a Taoist technique. That's right. After taking a few steps, Lan Shuiyu turned back and said, Wu Yu, my junior brother Ming Ming's account will be settled by us sooner or later. Don't think that you are just a role as a disciple of the master. In my eyes, Lan Shuiyu, you are just a damn handyman. A sparrow is a sparrow, don't think you can compare with us just by flying on a branch. Sparrow? You are noisy like a sparrow. Wu Yu smiled faintly and was too lazy to talk to her. Lan Shuiyu was obviously an unruly girl. Most of the princesses in the palace had this temper, and he was used to it. Snort. Lan Shuiyu snorted coldly. Of course, she must not take action in the Sutra Pavilion. If she were to take action and destroy the Taoist scrolls, she would probably have to be confined for several years. We'll see, I'll be able to plant immortal roots soon. Su Yanli won't be my opponent by then. As for you, you won't live long. Lan Shuiyu bit her red lips. Although she said cold words, she was still here. In the candlelight, there is an alluring smell. She knew that Wu Yu defeated Zhang Junlin. Lan Huayun also knew the news at that time and urged her. As a result, she felt a lot of pressure and naturally hated Wu Yu even more. The disciples of the Guardian and the headmaster have been fighting openly and secretly for more than a day or two. For now, Feng Xiya seems to have the upper hand. Oh, that's terrible. Wu Yu smiled coldly, changed places, and continued to find the first Taoist technique that suited him. As for Lan Shuiyu, he had automatically ignored it. The two of them stayed in this silent and confined space, and the others' breathing often disturbed them. Lan Shuiyu failed to scare Wu Yu, and he became more and more anxious. I must succeed in condensing energy and surpass this ugly woman Su Yanli. Lan Shuiyu gritted her teeth in the darkness and gathered all her strength. Passing through the stacks of bookshelves, Wu Yu was lost in thought. For the first Taoist skill, he went right here. How brave he is. In fact, she didn't resent Wu Yu because of Situ Minglang. She and Situ Minglang didn't have any feelings yet. The main reason was the competition between the two disciples. Her opponent was originally Su Yanli. Because Lan Shuiyu is younger, she is indeed more talented than Su Yanli, but the recent return of Wu Yu has made her feel a little uneasy. I can't live up to my aunt's expectations of me. Lan Shuiyu gritted her teeth and lowered her head, looking for a Taoist technique that suited her. Although she picked 7 Taoist techniques, some of them were still not suitable for her and she returned. Time passed bit by bit. 4 days. Wu Yu looked at thousands of Taoist techniques, and the only thing he felt was that he was dizzy and it was difficult to make a choice. Among them, there are about 100 kinds of metal and fire attributes, and there are about 10 kinds that he likes, but in the end he can only choose one. Each of these 10 types has a strong effect. Of course, as Feng Shui expected, most of them were sword cultivators. The reason for this is more likely because those 10 are all good, but none of them are really suitable for him, just like when he chose the magic weapon. This Golden Gate fire technique has nothing to do with swords. Finally, Wu Yu's eyes locked on one of the doors. My wife knows martial arts and the gangster can't stop her. Aries' new book My Wife is the Leader of the Martial Arts Alliance is released. Duo Duo, a relaxed city girl, is written by a great author. Recommended reading. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read early, and keep abreast of the latest information /U003C /E /U003E /U003C /E /U003E. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 86. Golden Gate Fire Technique. Wu Yu open the scroll again and read it in detail. Golden Gate Fire Technique is a general term, which includes several wonderful uses of this Taoist technique, such as the heart-piercing thunder and thunder drawing of the thunder control technique, and even the forbidden Taoist technique thunder demon possession. You can build a golden gate with mana, and burst out with explosive flames. As the mana increases, the more golden gates can be created at one time. Up to 5 golden gates can surround the opponent and probably refine the opponent into powder. After roughly understanding the power of this Taoist technique, Wu Yu felt a little excited. This was the Taoist technique he chose himself, and it was more meaningful than the one he got from Feng Xiya. There is even a section on the back of the scroll that contains the forbidden technique, Golden Gate Annihilation. It is even more powerful. Of course, it can hurt others and yourself, so it cannot be used lightly. Among the several Taoist arts that are most suitable for Wu Yu, this is the only one that is not a sword cultivator. Therefore, Wu Yu chose it as his first Taoist skill. Okay, just this Golden Gate fire technique. He was about to take the scroll away. At this moment, a jade hand suddenly stretched out and snatched away the scroll in Wu Yu's hand. He was studying the Golden Gate fire technique before, so he was a little focused on the Golden Gate fire technique. Unexpectedly, Lan Shuiyu walked up to him at this time and snatched the item he selected. After choosing for 4 days, he finally made his choice, but Lan Shuiyu suddenly snatched it away. Wu Yu was slightly angry, staring at the beauty under the candlelight, and said, "This technique is not suitable for you, give it back to me." "Give it back to you? It's ridiculous. It's not yours until you bring it to Elder Dugu for confirmation." Lan Shuiyu took the handle and looked very proud. "I'll say it again, the Golden Gate fire technique is not suitable for you at all." She took away this technique simply to cause a conflict with Wu Yu. "So what? I just want to see how you want it but can't get it? Do you still dare to attack me in this treasure house?" Lan Shuiyu pouted. Seeing Wu Yu's angry look, she was in a good mood. Seeing that Wu Yu didn't respond, she waved the scroll in her hand and said with a smile, "I'm too lazy to stay here with you. Let's go first." After saying that, she really wanted to leave with the Golden Gate fire technique. "Lay down." After choosing it for 4 days, Wu Yu was a little unwilling to be taken away like this. He was so absorbed just now that he didn't see Lan Shuiyu staring at him for a long time. Lan Shuiyu walked out as if she didn't hear what he said. Wu Yu watched from behind as she twisted her waist and walked towards the door with dignity. He suddenly accelerated and chased after her. Humph, looking for death. Sensing Wu Yu's movements, Lan Shuiyu smiled coldly. She wanted to force Wu Yu to take action first, so that even if there was a fight, Wu Yu would suffer. "I'm here, and you dare to look at me like no one else for 4 days, not to take me seriously, to see if I don't control you. Blue Water Moon is ready." "Certainly." Something unexpected happened. As Wu Yu approached, she suddenly seemed to pause. In the blink of an eye, the Golden Gate fire technique in her hand was in Wu Yu's hand. That's right, Wu Yu used the body holding technique. Compared with last time, the mana consumption was huge. In fact, Wu Yu had tried several times in the past few days. So far, the success rate was about half. If it fails, the mana will still be consumed, but it will not be able to stop the opponent. Lan Shuiyu was stunned, pointed at Wu Yu, and cried in anger. She had no idea how Wu Yu snatched the scroll. You can't even hold a scroll, but you still want to trick me into taking action against you? Stupid, Wu Yu waved the scroll in his hand and smiled. Hearing Wu Yu's words, Lan Shuiyu was even more angry and trembling, and said angrily, Wu Yu, please remember, I will make you kneel down in front of me and bow your head to me. You're still kneeling down, you must be sick. Wu Yu sneered, too lazy to care about her anymore, and walked deeper into the scripture depository pavilion. He wanted to take another look. Stop! Lan Shuiyu shouted with a sharp voice. She had always been respected by everyone. Su Yanli was the only one in the entire Bibo Mountains who was not very polite to her, and now there was also Wu Yu, a handyman. Unfortunately, Wu Yu didn't bother to listen to her when she stopped. Lan Shuiyu was even trembling with anger and could hardly help but fight Wu Yu here. At this moment, someone else seemed to be coming from outside. Junior sister, it turns out you are here. Wu Yu looked back and saw two people walking in the door. Wu Yu's eyes were caught at first glance. They were two men, one as tall as a mountain and the other as slender as a pine. Both of them were wearing dark blue trousers. The swordsmen and robes are all from those with majestic weapons, but at the same time they are different. The powerful ones are more restrained and handsome. The one as long and slender as a pine tree is as elegant as a flying fairy, with the aura of a mountain breeze, and the face makes people feel like they are bathed in the spring breeze. Zhao Changtian, Yi Qingfeng. These two are Lan Huayun's second and third disciples. His cultivation level should be at Mo Shishu's level, probably even better than Su Yanli's now. It is said that both of them are pursuing Lan Shuiyu and following her around all the time. It's true. Wu Yu was not afraid of them, even if they looked down upon him, but this was the Tongtian sword sect, what could they do to him? Sure enough, Lan Shuiyu was surrounded by the two of them as soon as they came in. When they came in, they found that Lan Shuiyu had tears on her face was red, and she looked resentful and angry. Looking at Wu Yu, they immediately knowing what was going on, the tall and thin Yi Qingfeng took a step forward and asked with concern, Junior sister, what kind of injustice have you suffered? Senior brother, please help you. It's Wu Yu who provoked you. I cut off his hand. The burly and domineering Zhao Changtian next to him is said to rarely talk on weekdays, but his violent attacks are frightening. Boom. Zhao Changtian stepped over. He had at least 6 magic sources, which could crush Wu Yu. Even Wu Yu today was knocked back by this majestic magic power, knocking down a bookshelf. Stretch out your hand. Zhao Changtian stared at Wu Yu with wide eyes. Leave a hand for me. Yi Qingfeng snorted coldly and reached out to help Lan Shuiyu. Don't you like me? Hold him down and I'll slap him. Lan Shuiyu pushed Yi Qingfeng away and said through gritted teeth. Hearing this, Zhao Changtian and Yi Qingfeng's eyes lit up, and they couldn't help but break Wu Yu's hand. Without saying anything, they rushed forward together. It seems that they have been lawless in the Bibo Mountains for a long time. However, at this moment, a withered voice came from below the Taoist tower, which was like a sword piercing the ear. Zhao Changtian, Lan Shuiyu, and Yi Qingfeng, get down here. Upon hearing this sound, the three of them were startled and stopped quickly. This should be Elder Dugu. Junior sister, Elder Dugu won't let you. Yi Qingfeng grimaced. Lan Shuiyu could only stare at Wu Yu and said, let you go today, but don't let me meet you next time, otherwise I will take revenge today. I will make you kneel down and slap you 10 times. Junior sister, why did he bully you? Yi Qingfeng asked. You don't have to worry about it. Lan Shuiyu kicked the ground and went out angrily. Yi Qingfeng gave Wu Yu a cold look and hurriedly chased him out. But Zhao Changtian is still here, his expression is even more fierce, and he is asking word by word, Wu Yu, why did you bully her? You have no ability to let her suffer. The strength of these two people is very terrifying, but they follow Lan Shuiyu like flies and suppress Wu Yu. Being suppressed by Zhao Changtian once made Wu Yu feel unhappy. He thought of an answer that drove Zhao Changtian crazy and said, I kissed her little mouth, what can you do to me? What? Just as Wu Yu expected, Zhao Changtian looked like he was about to go crazy. I kissed her on the mouth, did you hear it clearly? She did it voluntarily, do you believe it or not? You. I'm going to kill you, Zhao Changtian was furious. However, Elder Dugu is down there, and he really can't do anything to Wu Yu. I don't believe it, I'm going to ask Shui Yu. Zhao Changtian was trembling and rushed down with a rumble. The five elements swordsmen were left looking at each other in confusion. They had heard what Wu Yu said with their own ears. At this time, they also had expressions of disbelief. They even couldn't help but give Wu Yu a thumbs up. Wu Yu closed the door of the scripture depository pavilion and finally became quiet. For the sake of a quick talk, I provoked Zhao Changtian and Yi Qingfeng. I was suppressed by Zhao Changtian just now, and I was angry, so I blurted out, which made Zhao Changtian crazy. After thinking about it, there was really no need to use his words. However, no matter how crazy they are, they really can't do anything to me. Wu Yu was not afraid of them, at least Feng Shui suppressed Lan Huayun. Lan Shuiyu, Zhao Changtian, Yi Qingfeng, etc. are all targets of Wu Yu's challenge. Golden Gate Fire Technique. He held the scroll in his hand and fell into deep thought. After a lot of tossing and being suppressed by Zhao Changtian, I no longer had the previous enthusiasm for the Golden Gate Fire Technique. In the final analysis, it's because this Golden Gate Fire Technique is not what I really want. It's still a long time, I'll look for it again. Wu Yu resolutely threw away the scroll he had snatched back, and then devoted himself again to search for it, even not letting go of the scrolls in many dark corners. As for what happened after Lan Shuiyu, Zhao Changtian, and Yi Qingfeng went out, Wu Yu didn't know. Anyway, he didn't care. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read early, and keep abreast of the latest information /U003C /E /U003E /U003C /E /U003E. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 87. 3 days later. Taiwan Novel Network. Rightward arrow circled M. 9 dragon columns. Wu Yu showed an excited smile. Finally, in a corner of the 4th floor, he found a Taoist technique that excited him more than the Golden Gate Fire technique. It was a worn-out scroll, thrown in a corner. Apparently no one had practiced it for a long time. It was buried under layers of scrolls. If Wu Yu hadn't looked for it carefully, he might have missed it forever. Wu Yu was sitting in the corner of the scripture collection pavilion, feeling very good. This Taoist technique is somewhat similar to Ghost Princess's 10 snake soul piercing spear. Of course, the mode is similar, but the inside is completely different. Back then, every time Ghost G clicked on the soul calling flag, a black snake would appear. When the black snake entered the body with the soul-piercing gun, it would bite the internal organs, causing the opponent to die instantly. The technique of 9 dragons coiling pillars, condenses magic power, evolves fire dragons, coils the fire pillar, interlocking, has the power to destroy and destroy. The so-called pillar of fire is just right. The demon subduing stick is the pillar that can be coiled. This is a wonderful combination of flame magic and magical weapons. If it is truly practiced successfully, it will definitely surpass the fire tornado technique of Immortal Xuanhuan. The fire tornado technique is flashy and can fool ordinary people, but it has no effect when you meet me. This 9-dragon coil pillar is different. After practicing to the strongest state, it can condense 9 fire dragons around a demon subduing stick, attack with the magic weapon, and cooperate with me. His physical strength is definitely more powerful than the Golden Gate fire technique. Perhaps, it is a useless Taoist technique for many sword cultivators. However, it is definitely suitable for Wu Yu. 9 dragons coil around the pillars, red fire rises to the sky. Dragons descend into the world, destroying everything. The purpose of the 10-snake soul-piercing spear is to pierce, while the 9-dragon coil pillar is to smash, which is consistent with my will. There are even various subdivision methods, such as Earth Fire Dragon and Roaring Fire. There are even hidden a forbidden art. Taboo Taoist techniques are mostly used to save lives. They can be learned, but they cannot be used on fellow sect members or righteous people. Violators will be punished according to sect rules. I have chosen this 9-dragon pan pillar. Finally finding the Taoist technique that really suited him, Wu Yu was in a good mood. He left the Sutra Pavilion. The 5 elements swordsmen were still here. Now they were in awe of Wu Yu and quickly got out of the way. There was something in their eyes. There is a strange feeling. Mysterious. Wu Yu went all the way down and met a disciple in white and a disciple in black. Both of them were very respectful to Wu Yu. When they reached the first floor, the female disciple immediately stepped forward, but did not dare to get too close. Question: Wu Yu, I heard from above that you kissed Lan Shuiyu. This was what Wu Yu said when he dealt with Zhao Changtian. Unexpectedly, the 5 people above him came to the first floor. He was a little embarrassed and said, "Don't believe the rumors." But it has spread in the section. Of course, Lan Shuiyu said it herself. This is not true at all. You, a toad, just made it up because you want to eat swan meat. However, the more she denies it, the more everyone thinks it is true. The reason why you have been so quiet these days is because Lan Shuiyu and her 2 senior brothers were forced to retreat by the Supreme Protector and were not allowed to go out. The female disciple looked gossipy and approached and asked, "Wu Yu, just confess to me. Is it true?" He didn't expect that a casual sentence could cause such a commotion. Wu Yu was a little speechless. This should have spread from the 5 elements swordsman's mouth. However, he had just obtained the 9-dragon pan pillars and was excited. He didn't think it was a big deal. Without even paying attention to the female disciple, Wu Yu walked outside and saw Elder Dugu, who was practicing with his eyes closed. Wu Yu presented the scroll of the 9-dragon coiled pillars. 9-dragon panzu. You can go. Elder Dugu still didn't open his eyes or make any other movements, and directly said the Taoist technique that Wu Yu had taken away. Judging from this elder was indeed powerful. Thank you, Elder Dugu. Wu Yu nodded and bowed, no longer staying, left the Taoist tower, and rode the crane back to Kishan Peak. After arriving at Kishan Peak, the handymen set up the crane. Although they did not dare to speak, their eyes were still strange. What's wrong? Wu Yu asked when he saw that they were acting strangely. The servants were so frightened that they knelt on the ground and did not dare to speak. Just say anything. Back to the Immortal, we heard that you and the Supreme Protector's disciple, the Immortal Lan Shuiyu, have become an immortal couple. Congratulations to the Immortal. The Immortal Lan Shuiyu is also as beautiful as a heavenly being. Wu Yu's eyes darkened. Unexpectedly, even the handyman knew about this, and the rumors changed. I really should give myself a slap in the face. The 3 of them, Lan Shuiyu, come out and hear such gossip spread in the Bibo Mountains. They are probably going to kill me, Kishan Peak. The words he spoke were just like water thrown out. Wu Yu didn't bother to think about it, but the 9 dragon pan pillars were more important. Starting from today, I will learn the left Dao technique and 9 dragon column pillars, and continue to study the fixing body technique. Then, I will get in touch and communicate with the Ruyi Golden Cudgel more, and maybe there will be more other magical methods. Wu Yu arrived at the Kishan Palace and began to concentrate on his practice. Although there are many left-handed arts, there are 99 kinds, but in fact, except for the sword control technique which is a little difficult, the others are all simple. You can learn several in a day, and many of them can be used without thinking as long as you have the magic power. But the 9 dragon coiled pillars is much more difficult. This Taoist technique is called the 1 dragon coiled pillar when it is cultivated to the minor level. It is called the 4 dragons coiled pillar when it is cultivated to the Dachan realm. It is the 9 dragon coiled pillar when it is cultivated to the perfect state. It is extremely powerful. I will try to complete the 1 dragon coiled pillar within a month. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. He is not greedy for success, but progresses step by step. After all, he still knows very little about Taoism. For this first Taoism, he must lay a solid foundation. The days were very peaceful. There were very few guests on Kishan Peak for the time being, but there were usually visitors. When they heard that Wu Yu was practicing Taoism in seclusion, they basically left first. In fact, Wu Yu spends most of his time not in Kishan Palace, but on the highest peak of Kishan Peak, where there are jungles, open spaces, and rocks. It is more suitable to forge Taoist skills here. Where he practiced, 100 feet in radius had been razed to the ground and was scorched black. Whoops! Golden flames burned on the stones and soil, and the flames soared into the sky, obscuring Wu Yu's presence. A month has passed. Buzz! Suddenly there was a dragon roar, the mountains and forests were shaking, and the sea of fire began to roll, as if a giant beast poked its head out, then boomed and shook, and there was another explosion. In an instant, even the handymen on the mountainside could not stand steady, fell to the ground. The immortal is really amazing. The handyman disciples were shocked and looked at the top of the mountain full of yearning. 1 dragon panning the pillar, it's done. In Wu Yu's hand, it was the demon subduing stick, and at this time, a golden divine dragon was coiled around the demon subduing stick. The demon stick's fire formation works together, making it even more terrifying. Taoist skills are really powerful. Wu Yu couldn't help but sigh. After practicing hard for a month, I finally achieved a small success in this 9 dragon coiled pillar technique, and I can barely perform it. They are both the first Taoist arts, but the 9 dragon panzu is much more powerful than the thunder control technique. It took Situ Mingliang only a year to master it, but Wu Yu's current talent has surpassed him. Perhaps due to the influence of the Ruyi Golden Cudgel, my talent for studying Taoism is actually so strong that I can easily understand those obscure words. Putting away the demon subduing stick and finally possessing a Taoist technique, Wu Yu was full of confidence in himself. Swordsmanship. The so-called sword controlling technique is called the object controlling technique. In other sections, the sword controlling technique is slightly different from the object controlling technique. After some changes and simplifications, it is more focused on swords. Wu Yu practiced this sword controlling technique and could barely control it. Subjugate demon stick, but it is not possible to achieve flying with a sword. Wu Yu has also basically mastered other left Dao techniques. From now on, chores such as taking a bath can be solved with one technique, and some simple techniques of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth are all under his control. Junior brother. Wu Yu was about to go down the mountain when a soft call suddenly came from the sky. He looked up and saw a crane falling from the clouds. There was a woman sitting on top of the crane. The woman had an ethereal temperament and did not eat the fireworks of the world. There was a commanding presence in her bright eyes. People are intoxicated by the peacefulness, with long skirts fluttering, hunting and dancing in the clouds and mist. Such a picture is simply like a moving painting. It was Xuanhuan. Sister. Will you put down the demon-subduing stick? Have you completed building the 9 dragon-coiled pillars so quickly? Xuanhuan was a little surprised. The crane landed on the ground, and she fell lightly to Wu Yu's eyes. It can only be regarded as a small success, Wu Yu said modestly. Even if it is a small success, it is a rare speed in the history of the Tongtian sword section. I looked it up and found that the power of the 9 dragon-coiled pillars is quite powerful among Taoist arts. To the end of my cultivation, I am the Tai Kuijin sword mastered is almost the same. Xuanhuan's ethereal eyes were full of appreciation. At this point, her expression suddenly changed, a little cold, and she said, I heard that you kissed Lan Shuiyu, right? Wu Yu felt ashamed and hurriedly explained what had happened. Xuanhuan said, it's okay if it's not true. Master doesn't like Lan Huayun, and I don't like you to have anything to do with her disciples. What's more, Lan Shuiyu is spoiled and has a bad temper. He is not worthy of you. Don't do it in the future. Talk to her too much. Wu Yu didn't expect that she would be so concerned about this matter. Thinking about it, she was also concerned about Wu Yu. After all, Lan Shuiyu was really difficult to take care of. I understand, senior sister, don't worry, I will never interact with her again. Wu Yu didn't feel anything for Lan Shuiyu in his heart. He had seen many such unruly girls in the palace. That's good. Xuanhuan was satisfied and smiled slightly. She looked at Wu Yu and suddenly asked, do you want to try the power of this 9 dragon-coiled pillars? Of course, there is just no opponent, Wu Yu said with a smile. Have. Who? I. \U003CE \U003E \U003CE \U003F. Follow the official QQ account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read early, and keep abreast of the latest information \U003C/E \U003E \U003C/E \U003E. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 88. Wu Yu never thought of fighting her. Perhaps it's because he came from Yanli Peak, and since he entered the Immortal sect, he has had a certain amount of respect for Xuanhuan, who was once aloof. Therefore, there is always an illusion in my heart that Xuanhuan is out of reach. Until Xuanhuan raised this point, his heart suddenly became hot. Yes, I can challenge even senior sister Su. She is also a mortal, not a fairy. From this moment on, the way he looked at Xuanhuan changed. From the former respect and love, a kind of aggression was added to it. Wu Yu had the desire to defeat her and surpass her. I still remember that when he first saw Xuanhuan, Sun Wudao told him that Xuanhuan was a noble god and he must not look directly at him and had to bow his head, otherwise he would lose his life. Today, Wu Yu is no longer the same person as before. Cultivation is all about continuous transcendence. If one day I can defeat senior sister Su, she will also be happy for me. Wu Yu has practiced a Taoist technique and is now full of confidence. Seeing the change in Wu Yu's eyes, Xuanhuan actually understood. Her usually calm face suddenly smiled softly and feigned anger. If you dare to look at me like this, you will have to suffer a little. I am your senior sister. Yes, senior sister. Wu Yu had met many people, and he knew in his heart that Xuanhuan was one of the few people in the Blue Mountains who truly thought of him. Take action. When Xuanhuan faced him, she was not careless at all. She floated 3 feet away. When she stepped back, she had already taken out a pale golden sword from the bag of me. Golden-colored glaze is very dazzling and beautiful. Under the scorching sun, the light becomes even more brilliant and even evolves into colorful lights. This is a magic weapon, Liri Jin Liu. I named it myself. Just like her beauty, this Lirijin Liu is also so beautiful. Of course, there is domineering and sharp power hidden in the golden glass-like sword body, and there is a vague power of the magic circle flowing in it, especially the magic power of Su Yanli's 5 magic sources, instilled in it. Watch it. When she took action, Wu Yu was stunned for a moment, and then immediately felt the terrible suppression. This is the 5th level of Qi condensation realm. The 4th and 5th, because of the relationship between immortal roots, there will be a dividing line. Buzz. Wu Yu picked up the demon-subduing stick on the ground with his feet and held it in his hands instantly. All the Taoist skills he had practiced hard for a month were in his hands in an instant. Dragon Panzu. The magic power condenses, the magic formula changes, and is struck on the demon-subduing stick. The demon-subduing stick is surrounded by anger. Suddenly, a flaming dragon takes shape in the magic formula, rotates, and roars, coils around the demon-subduing stick. Above. Break. Wu Yu rushed forward with his stick, dancing the dragon, and rushed towards Su Yanli with a devastating force. For a moment, the rocks shook, as if the god of war had arrived. The Taoism and the magic weapon were perfectly combined, and the power of the magic was even more amplified, like a tower. Mount Tai fell headlong towards Su Yanli. In the face of such momentum, Su Yanli's expression did not change. She entered a fighting state, but she had a different charm. Whoosh! She danced the beautiful sun and golden Lu, and her long sword set off bursts of golden energy. Vaguely, Wu Yu saw some golden words appearing on the golden glaze-like sword blade. Buzz. Stab out with a sword. The golden words disappeared, and a magnificent golden sword energy suddenly appeared in the sword body. The golden words were transferred to the sword energy. This is Su Yanli's sword cultivation technique, Tei Kuijin sword. To be honest, swordsmanship is the master of attack and killing, and the sword cultivators of the Tongtian sword sect are stronger than ordinary disciples in terms of combat effectiveness. Wu Yu was in the Tongtian sword sect, the holy land of swordsmanship, but he didn't practice swordsmanship. It was indeed a pity. Otherwise, he will get more inheritance. Just like this Su Yanli, when the Tei Kui golden sword came out, it only increased the murderous aura everywhere. Even the leaves and branches in the distance seemed to be trembling. The power of the sword was terrifyingly domineering. In the blink of an eye, the golden sword light shook. Coming, it actually brought a crushing crisis to Wu Yu. Boom! The dragon-coiled pillar was in a head-to-head confrontation with the Tei Kuijin sword. The domineering and tyrannical power shook Wu Yu so hard that the long stick fell from his hand, and Wu Yu flew backwards. His whole body was cut by knives. Even if the Tei Kuijin sword dispersed, it also seemed to turn into countless sword energy and attack Wu Yu's body. Fortunately, Wu Yu has an indestructible body. It's amazing. Wu Yu sighed sincerely. After this confrontation, he knew that the gap between him and Su Yanli was in mana. In terms of mana, there is still a big difference, which is why he was crushed by the opponent like this. Of course, this is a kind of friendly suppression. It just makes Wu Yu realize that there is a world outside the world, and there are people outside the world. He has won several big victories recently, and it is easy for him to inflate himself. Su Yanli just made him sober up and realize that he is now shortcomings. One day, I will surpass senior sister Su. Wu Yu had a very strong impact. He wanted to become more powerful than the woman in front of him. Wu Yu. Just as Wu Yu was about to roll to the ground, Su Yanli floated over, stretched out her slender hand, and pulled Wu Yu to steady his body before he fell to the ground. Thank you, senior sister. Su Yanli's palm was very soft. Before Wu Yu could feel it carefully, the other party had already pulled it back. She pursed her lips and said, "Junior brother, you have grown too fast recently, but as a practitioner, you must not be arrogant, you know." This was the purpose of her and Wu Yu's actions. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. It was also her good intentions. TCH, practice is to be arrogant. Don't believe her. It won't be long before you can surpass her. Then you can play with her however you want. Ming Long in the Ruyi Golden Cudgel said again abruptly. Shut up. Regarding the mentality of cultivating Taoism, Wu Yu knew very well. Neither Su Yanli nor Ming Long was wrong. Ming Long's Tao was pride, arrogance, and lawlessness. Su Yanli's Tao was to move forward cautiously. He felt that he had to do both. The reason why Ming Long was killed was the result of her lack of restraint. Su Yanli thought he? She was. No, senior sister. To be honest, Wu Yu sometimes found Ming Long quite annoying, but for the sake of both being the descendants of the great sage Kishan, he didn't care. Humph, my aunt is too lazy to talk to you. Ming Long fell asleep angrily. She is now waiting for Wu Yu to become an immortal, and then fulfill his promise and make a deal. But, how difficult is the journey to becoming an immortal? I have 2 qi condensing pills here. You can increase your magic power after a while. Su Yanli took out 2 qi condensing pills from his bag. For any qi condensing realm disciple, the qi condensing pills are treasures, and Su Yanli can only receive 2 of them every month. If he wants to get more, he can only perform sect tasks. That qi condensation pill is not something easy to obtain. Senior sister, you can't. Before Wu Yu could finish speaking, Su Yanli put the qi condensing pill in his hand and said, "Don't be polite to senior sister, or I won't come to you in the future." All right. Wu Yu held the qi condensing pill tightly, feeling a little warm in his heart. Now that he is far away from Wu Yu, it is inevitable to miss him, and Su Yanli's concern is just like that of Wu Yu in the past. She is so good to me. If there is trouble in the future, I will definitely stand up for her. Wu Yu made a mental note of this matter. Since returning to the Tongtian sword sect, he has received a total of 4 qi condensing pills, all of which are used to condense the source of magic. 2 qi condensing pills are consumed in a month. His indestructible body can fully withstand it. Moreover, now the spiritual energy of the Tongtian sword sect was 3 times stronger. Not to mention Wu Yu, every disciple on the Bibo Mountains had made progress and even achieved breakthroughs. I'm leaving first. Su Yanli devoted himself to Taoism and spent most of his time practicing. She was about to sit on the crane and leave. At this moment, there was a bird song in the air. It was the voice of Tian Yunpeng. In the blink of an eye, 3 Tian Yunpeng tore apart the clouds and mist, and suddenly rushed into the range of Qi Tianfeng, heading towards Wu Yu's position has arrived. Who? Wu Yu and Su Yanli frowned slightly. This is Wu Yu's Qi Tianfeng. Other disciples cannot barge in like this. The answer will be revealed soon. The 3-headed Tian Yunpeng suddenly fell to the ground, raising smoke and dust all over the sky. In the smoke and dust, a girl wearing a blue sword robe came out angrily, followed by 2 men, one tall and burly, like a fairy war god, and the other slender and handsome, like a master from this world. The 3 of them all have aloof temperaments, but those who can be compared with Zhang Junlin, Su Yanli, etc., are either rich or noble at first glance, and have a high background. Of course, at this time, there is no exception. They are all evil and menacing. Obviously it's here to cause trouble. Wu Yu. That girl was Lan Shuiyu. She held up the hem of her sword robe and rushed forward. Her eyes were red and she looked at Wu Yu fiercely, about to pull out the magic weapon long sword from the bag of me. Blue Water Moon. Su Yanli was still there next to her. He was so rude. She gave a soft drink and stood sideways in front of Wu Yu. The Lirijin Liu in her hand had blocked Lan Shuiyu's way. Lan Shuiyu took a step forward, sword the edge of the blade has spread upwards, so that Lan Shuiyu can only retreat. Su Yanli, How dare you attack Shui Yu, Zhao Changtian shouted, and the forest shook. You barged into Kishan Peak without permission, and you are so aggressive that you want to kill people, right? Su Yanli faced them with an extremely cold attitude, with a faint golden murderous intent hidden in her eyes. It seemed that she had never liked these three people. In this Tongtian sword sect, every time they dare to have a conflict with Su Yanli, it is the three of them. Don't mind your own business, I'm going to kill Wu Yu today. After Lan Shuiyu stepped back, her eyes were still staring at Wu Yu and she said through gritted teeth. If our master hadn't asked us to retreat, Wu Yu, you would never have survived today, Yi Qingfeng said coldly. Roll. Although Zhao Changtian and Yi Qingfeng were much older and stronger than Su Yanli was not afraid of them. Seeing her persistence, Lan Shuiyu knew that forcing a move would only cause greater trouble. She was here to teach Wu Yu a lesson today, but she didn't expect to run into Su Yanli. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read early, and keep abreast of the latest information /U003C/E /U003E /U003C/E /U003E. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 89. Wu Yu, if you want to be worthy, don't hide behind women, stand up for me, Lan Shuiyu bit her lips, breathing heavily, her swollen breasts rising and falling, obviously in the past month, not less angry. Wu Yu expected that they would come. After all, the incident had spread and there were several versions. He was straightforward. Just as he was about to stand up, Su Yanli reached out and pushed him back. He said with an indifferent expression, Lan Shuiyu, this is not a place for you to act wild. I advise you to get out, even if you cause trouble to our master Go, you will be punished too. After all, they are here looking for trouble. You. Lan Shuiyu's face turned red with anger. She pointed at Wu Yu and said, Su Yanli, don't pretend to be confused. It's Wu Yu who talks nonsense with such a bad mouth. Now the whole Bibo Mountains are spreading rumors that he killed me. I want him to clear my name today. I want to tear his mouth open and let everyone see if he is capable of kissing me. This is true. This incident happened unintentionally, and Wu Yu did not expect that the cultivators in this immortal sect would also be so keen on gossip. Speaking of which, even though Lan Shuiyu repeatedly provoked him, he still didn't want to do anything to taint someone's innocence, so he wanted to clarify the matter. Unexpectedly, as soon as Lan Shuiyu finished speaking, Su Yanli sneered and said, if you are shameless, who will kiss you? My junior brother doesn't like you, so don't be sentimental. Wu Yu was really eye-opening. He didn't expect that Su Yanli, who was usually cold, would fight with other women, and even his words would be so lethal. Su Yanli. You are looking for death. Lan Shuiyu almost fainted from anger. Seeing her suffering such a loss, the two people next to her could not hold back. They were about to suppress her and gain the upper hand with her magic power. Suddenly, there was a loud laugh from the sky, a crane fell, and a scholar the dressed man fell down and joked, it's so lively. What are you doing? These two strong men, are you going to bully my junior brother and junior sister? It's Mo Shishu. He waved the folding fan and walked casually to Su Yanli, tooting and smiling. Mo Shishu, please stop meddling in other people's business. Yi Qingfeng originally wanted to take action, but with Mo Shishu here, they might not have the absolute upper hand, so they had to hold back. It's a joke, you want to touch my brothers and sisters, but I even moved a bench to watch the battle. Are you mentally ill, Amo Shishu said with wide eyes and an exaggerated expression. You. From beginning to end, Wu Yu said nothing. But he also smiled in his heart. It seemed that the conflict between the headmaster and the disciples who protected the teacher was indeed deep. However, after all, the disciples of the headmaster were more domineering. At this time, Amo Shishu stared at Wu Yu with a smile, patted his shoulder, and said loudly, "Junior brother, senior brother admires you. I heard that a month ago you were in the Taoist pagoda, and you put this blue water. Junior sister, you got it, right? Now the news has spread, everyone is saying that you are so fast and so arrogant." Whether this was a rumor or something Amo Shishu made up, Wu Yu didn't know. "Don't talk nonsense. This is nothing. Lan Shui Yu, let's go." Su Yanli has long been used to Amo Shishu's troublesome behavior. Now she just wants him to go away. Of course, Lan Shui Yu and the others were even more reluctant. Then Zhao Changtian and Yi Qingfeng looked at each other. Now that the matter has spread like this, they must clear Lan Shuiyu's name. Wu Yu saw this in his eyes. He was very particular about rules and kept things straight. It was indeed his fault for spreading rumors, so he said, "Lan Shuiyu, I admit that I am talking too much. Let's do this. Let's find a place with a lot of people together. I'll tell you clearly what happened and clear your name. Do you think so?" Amo Shishu and Su Yanli, among them, Amo Shishu wished that the matter would be bigger, but Su Yanli did not want Wu Yu to have any contact with the disciples of the guardian lineage. However, the person involved was Wu Yu, and he did such a thing the two of them didn't care much about the choice. After Wu Yu raised this point, Lan Shuiyu was of course unwilling to accept it. Her purpose was to tear Wu Yu's mouth apart. As long as she did this, everyone would understand that it was a rumor. But with Amo Shishu here today, it is obvious that this matter cannot be done. Yi Qingfeng said in Lan Shuiyu's ear, "Shuiyu, it's difficult to deal with Wu Yu today. I think it's better to cut off the rumors first. As for the settlement, let's settle the score slowly. That's all." Lan Shuiyu said, "Okay, let's go to Duobao Valley, there are many people there. Let's go if you feel like it." They sat on the sky Yunpeng, soared into the sky, and flew towards the Duobao Valley. Amo Shishu and the other three were left behind. Amo Shishu waved his hands and said, "Let's do this as my junior brother said. I just don't think we should be afraid of them. The way Zhao Changtian and Yi Qingfeng are following them is really disgusting. But Lan Shuiyu is quite a smart girl. Junior brother, if you can really get her." As soon as he said this, Su Yanli's eyes forced him to speak back. "Ha ha!" Amo Shishu laughed sarcastically and shook his folding fan awkwardly. "Explain this matter clearly and don't interact with them in the future. These three villains will always linger if you provoke them." Su Yanli warned Wu Yu. It seems that she has had many conflicts with them over the years. Of course, Wu Yu didn't want to be in tit-for-tat with these people all the time. Like Su Yanli, he wanted to focus on what he most wanted to do, practice. The three people boarded the Xianhe and followed Tian Yunpeng, and soon arrived at Duobao Valley. The prosperous Duobao Valley was still lively. Xianhe and Tian Yunpeng stopped outside Duobao Valley. The 6 people walked into Duobao Valley. These 6 are all real big shots of the younger generation, disciples of the Master and Guardian. As soon as they appeared, they attracted a large number of disciples in a short period of time. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. How come the 6 of them are together? I heard that Wu Yu and Lan Shuiyu are on good terms. Is it true? So the relationship between the 6 of them is good. It's definitely fun. The days of practice are really boring. There are occasional twists and turns and ambiguities, and the young disciples are very concerned about it. After a while, hundreds of people gathered around. When Wu Yu saw that it was almost done, he opened his voice and said loudly, "Everyone, we are here today to clarify one thing, that is, Lan Shuiyu and I have nothing to do with each other. These are all rumors, please don't believe them. That's right. I have nothing to do with this Wu Yu. If anyone dares to talk nonsense again, don't blame me for being rude. Lan Shuiyu looked at the people around her coldly. Wu Yu thought to himself, if you say this, everyone is not a fool and should understand. Unexpectedly, everyone burst into laughter. Don't worry, you two, we all understand. Yes, the two of you have absolutely nothing to do with each other. We all know it in our hearts. Hundreds of people laughed tacitly together. Wu Yu was depressed. They thought Wu Yu and Lan Shuiyu were flirting, but that was Lan Shuiyu's character anyway. So they act like you understand everything without having to tell me. He coughed and said, it's like this. Lan Shuiyu repeatedly provoked me that day and made me unhappy, so he said frivolous words for outsiders to hear, so the recent rumors are all rumors. He even said these words, thinking that he would resolve the conflict, make Lan Shuiyu stop harassing her, and make Su Yanli feel relieved. Hey hey! Everyone laughed again. After all, Wu Yu and Lan Shuiyu were standing together, looking like happy enemies. The more they explained, the more ambiguous they became. Seeing everyone smiling strangely, Lan Shuiyu didn't understand what was going on. The energy and blood attacked her heart, and she almost spat out a mouthful of angry blood. She turned to look at Wu Yu, who looked innocent, and felt angry in her heart. That delicate body trembling, he had a good figure, but his eyes were about to burst into flames. At this moment, he shouted, Wu Yu, if I kill you, they will believe you. After saying that, she actually took out the magic weapon and was about to take action. Wu Yu is beside her. The light and shadow flashed, and she vaguely saw that Lan Shuiyu actually had two magic weapons, which were handed to her left and right hands respectively. They were two long swords like flowing water. Her hands shook and she started dancing on the spot. The dance was graceful. Showing off her graceful figure to the fullest, but hidden in the beautiful dance is a cold murderous intention. This is Ice Blade Dance. Wu Yu had read through the Taoist techniques in the Tibetan scripture pavilion, and he understood it as soon as the other party used it. The opponent got angry and started to attack, so he could only fight back. He used the demon subduing stick and imitated the 9-dragon coil pillar. He was suppressed by Su Yanli in the first confrontation. He felt a little unhappy. At this time, Lan Shuiyu bumped into him. Come up. Boom. With one stick, divine dragons surround you. The flaming dragon, coiled around the demon subduing stick, instantly surged into the sky. The perfect collision of Taoism and magical weapons made everyone sigh. They remembered that the last time they saw Wu Yu take action was on the immortal fighting platform. Break. The 9-dragon coiled pillar exploded out, Wu Yu swept it out with a stick, and the divine dragon roared into the sky. A sea of fire set off and instantly submerged the blue water moon in the ice blade dance. Ding ding ding. In the sea of fire, several ice swords were torn and shattered by the dragon. The majestic flames rushed forward, causing Lan Shuiyu to scream in surprise and could only run away in embarrassment, almost being burned. Wu Yu. Lan Shuiyu was going crazy. Wu Yu always suppressed her verbally, so forget it. In this battle, she was still a sneak attack, and she actually forced the opponent to retreat. She was already humiliated. Going crazy, she wanted to fight, but at this time Wu Yu already stopped. Who is doing this in Duobao Valley? From the depths of the Duobao Valley, a loud shout was heard, shaking the flames and ice blades away. Under the impact of this sound, even Wu Yu felt his internal organs shaking. Looking around, the faces of hundreds of people present were expressionless. None of them looked good. It's Elder Gong soon. Everyone's expressions changed. Zhao Changtian and Yi Qingfen were about to fight with Su Yanli and the others. At this time, they quickly grabbed Lan Shuiyu and made faces at him. Elder Gongsun? Wu Yu looked into the depths of Duobao Valley. He remembered that the elder Dugu was stationed at the Taoist pagoda, and there was this elder Gongsun in Duobao Valley, who seemed to be a big shot here. Otherwise, Lan Shuiyu and the others wouldn't be so afraid. Wu Yu, let's go. Su Yanli grabbed him and left without saying a word, as did Lan Shuiyu and the other three. However, during the process of leaving, Lan Shuiyu was still furious. Wu Yu, I will enter the Immortal Fate Valley tomorrow. When I get a fairy root and complete the test given to me by my master, I will get the water mirror. When I plant the fairy root, that's when you kneel down and kowtow to me. The matter was not resolved today, but it made her even more unhappy. In 2016, the new year, Swallowing the Sky just exceeded 10 million hits. A new book sold 10 million in 30 days, which is unprecedented in history. Thank you all. I wish you all great success in the new year. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ public account 17K, ID, Love 17K, to read first and get the latest information at any time. /U003C /E /U003E /U003C /E /U003E. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 90. Lan Shuiyu and the other three people rode on Tianyunpeng and flew away wildly. What is a water mirror? Wu Yu asked as the three of them climbed onto the crane. A kind of immortal root, similar to my golden jade sword heart. Lan Shuiyu should not be far away from condensing the fifth magic source. In 2 months at most, she can reach my realm. Su Yan leave the Tao. Mo Shishu chuckled and said, Junior brother, your senior brother has really opened my eyes to me. I went to the mortal kingdom, and now I can even repel Lan Shuiyu. It's really amazing. This speed is definitely the highest in the Tongtian Sword Section 1. In fact, Wu Yu's departure shocked the hundreds of people in Duobao Valley. They had witnessed Wu Yu defeat Lan Shuiyu with their own eyes. A few months ago, Wu Yu could only compare with Situ Ming Liang, but everyone had improved a little. It was as if he had made a leap, directly reaching the level of Lan Shuiyu and Su Yanli. Your talent is indeed extraordinary, but you still have to turn your talent into strength, Su Yanli said. Historically, there have been many people with good talents, but not many who were truly successful. After all, the better the talent, the more dazzling it will be, and the easier it will be to be killed. On top of the crane, Wu Yu thought about today's events. In fact, he wanted to solve the problem, but sometimes, the development of things was not necessarily under his control. Suddenly I remembered that Lan Shuiyu seemed to have mentioned a place called Xuanhuan Valley. He then asked, Senior brother and sister, where is the Immortal Valley? Why can Lan Shuiyu go in to find the immortal root? Xuanhuan Valley is a forbidden area in the north of the Bibo Mountains. It is adjacent to the Bibo Mountains, but it can also be regarded as the scope of my Tongtian Sword section. There is the Elder Shentu who is the head of the 5 elders guarding it. On weekdays, all the disciples know one can get close to it. It is only opened once a year. It is a test place for our disciples of the Sword Party. What are the 5 elders? Wu Yu was busy practicing as soon as he came back. He didn't know much about the Tongtian Sword sect, and the 5 elders of the Immortal Fate Valley were not introduced in the Bibo Mountains Chronicles. The 5 elders are the 5 strongest elders in our Tongtian Sword section. Their training years are longer than our masters. The Elder Dugu of Tao Dao Pagoda, the Elder Gongsun of Duobao Valley, and this Elder Shentu of the Immortal Fate Valley is one of them. It is said that they have reached the peak of the Qi-condensing immortal root realm and have opened the 10 sources of energy around them, but they have not formed a golden elixir. I see. Wu Yu still has many questions about the Immortal Valley. Lan Shuiyu will go in tomorrow to look for her mirror in the water. Yes and no. How to say it? Her immortal root has been prepared by the Supreme Protector, which is the water mirror. However, according to the sect's rules, she has to pass the test of the immortal Fate Valley and obtain a kind of immortality in the immortal Fate Valley. Only by cultivating immortal roots can you obtain the qualification of cultivating immortal roots and obtain the water mirror. Wu Yu understood. Just like Zhang Junlin, his father had prepared the immortal root, but he still needed to test his ability, let him get a kind of immortal root himself, exercise his ability, and the most important thing was to convince the public. After all, the sect has its own rules, especially when it comes to such important treasures as immortal roots. Why are there immortal roots in the Immortal Valley? Su Yanli was stunned for a moment, as if he didn't quite understand. Then Mo Shishu took over the words and said, Xuanhuan Valley is a strange place, rich in immortal roots, but after so many years, it has been basically taken away by our Tongtian sword section during the annual test. Elder Shentu is responsible for placing a few immortal roots among them for the disciples to search for and compete for. Of course, we cannot rule out the possibility of finding wild immortal roots. I see. Wu Yu thought for a moment, and he was still looking forward to the immortal root, so he asked, what conditions must be met to enter the immortal Fate Valley? Su Yanli said, you can reach the 4th level of Qi Condensation Realm, and the 5th level of Qi Condensation Realm Immortal Fate Valley is opened once a year. Basically, all the 4th level Qi Condensation Realm in the sect, and those who have not obtained the 5th level of Qi Condensation Realm of Immortal Root will all enter. If you can't get it in 1 year, you can wait another year, and so on. As far as I know, the longest disciple has been challenging for more than 30 years before he got an immortal root. Wu Yu understood. The number of immortal roots is limited and can only be given to the best disciples. That's why I set up this challenge. He looked at Su Yanli and asked with some confusion, isn't the Immortal Valley not opened yet this year? Why did senior sister plant the immortal root? Su Yanli said, I entered the Immortal Valley last year, took a kind of immortal root, and exchanged it with the master for a golden and jade sword heart. Wu Yu thought that Feng Shui was flirting with her. After thinking about it carefully, Feng Shui was very strict and would not be flirting with her. Having said this, Mo Shishu smiled and said, Junior brother, you ask so many questions, do you have any ideas? Wu Yu nodded and said, only those at the 4th level of the Qi Condensing Realm are eligible to enter, but I have the strength of the 4th level of the Qi Condensing Realm, so naturally I want to go in early to challenge. It only happened once a year. Wu Yu knew that he was making rapid progress. If he missed this time, he would not be able to get the immortal root until this time next year. If he reaches the 4th level of Qi Condensation Realm soon, wouldn't he have to wait blindly? Moreover, as long as you can protect yourself and go in early, it will only increase your experience. Even if you don't get the immortal root, it is worth it. This matter is the same as the matter of the Immortal Kingdom supervisor Su Yanli and Mo Shishu looked at each other and then said. What do you say? Wu Yu asked expectantly. Rules are rules, but if you are capable, you can break them. We will take you to see Master. As long as Master agrees and Elder Shentu agrees, there will be no problem. After hearing this, Wu Yu was still a little nervous. After all, this matter was bigger than the matter of the Immortal Kingdom supervisor. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Feng Xiya should not object. Would Elder Shentu agree? Wu Yu was more worried about him. Mo Shishu smiled and said, you don't know this. Among the 5 elders, the other 4 elders were brought by that old woman Lan Huayun. Only Elder Shentu is an old friend of the Master. You don't have to worry. If Master agrees, it is impossible for Elder Shentu to disagree. 4. It seemed that this could be done, but there was another piece of information in Mo Shishu's words that made it difficult for Wu Yu to accept it. What did that old woman Lan Huayun bring? Where did the Supreme Protector come from? Wu Yu didn't know much about the top beings of the Tongtian sword sect, especially Lan Huayun, who looked down upon him. From what Mo Shisha meant, she seemed to be from outside. Su Yanli said, "It is said that they are from outside, but Master doesn't want to tell us where they come from. Some years ago, someone sent Lan Shuiyu again. It seems that there is some hidden secret, but there is one thing that cannot be. I deny the fact that although Lan Huayun is at odds with her master, our Tongtian sword sect has indeed become much stronger since they joined. I didn't expect that Lan Huayun had such a secret." Wu Yu was indeed curious, where would they come from? No wonder Feng Xiya is also a little afraid of her. After all, 4 of the 5 elders follow Lan Huayun. Obviously in the Tongtian sword sect, Lan Huayun's power still wants to suppress Feng Xiya. Of course, Feng Xia's side there are many people, and there are many elders, but they are not among the 5 elders, such as the elders who teach skills and enforce laws. Let's go and ask Master first. The 3 of them changed their direction and headed towards Tongtian Immortal Palace. This is Wu Yu's first time to Tongtian Immortal Palace. This aura is so strong, Mo Shishu sighed with emotion along the way. In the Tongtian Immortal Palace, the immortal mist fills the air, there are flashes of wind and thunder, and the sword energy chants. It is as if you have arrived at a real immortal palace. Master, I would like to see you. Everyone come in. In the immortal palace, Feng Xiya was practicing with his eyes closed. When he opened his eyes, it seemed as if there was a golden sword energy rising into the sky. What's the matter? This is his own business. Wu Yu stepped forward and said respectfully, Master, tomorrow, I want to enter the immortal Fate Valley and seize a kind of immortal root. I must complete this challenge first. To be honest, if he wanted to plant immortal roots, Feng Xiya should be able to give them to him, but even Lan Shuiyu and Su Yanli had experienced the challenge of obtaining immortal roots, so he didn't want to be an exception. Feng Shui suddenly smiled lightly and said, if you don't come today, I will go and prepare it for you in the evening. However, I am even more pleased that you can request it yourself. The disciples he admired were those who had the courage to accept challenges and had high aspirations. Wu Yu refused to accept his magical weapons and Taoist techniques, so he asked him to take a high look. Thank you, Master, this happened easily. It is said that you have mastered the technique of 9 dragon pan pillars. Master, what do you think? Yes, it suits you. It's better than what I chose for you before. Guess what I chose for you? Could it be the Golden Gate Fire technique? Wu Yu was most impressed by this technique. That's right. This was what Feng Shui knew about him, but obviously Wu Yu knew him better. Wu Yu, from the demon suppressing stick to the 9 dragon coiled pillar, I discovered something. Feng Shui stood up. Master, please speak. Feng Shui looked at Mo Shishu and Su Yanli and said, your senior brothers and sisters, I chose them for the road construction, and they are also the best. Of course, they performed well and I am very satisfied. I don't have to choose anything for you, but I found that at least they can't reach your level at your age. This is the truth. Wu Yu waited for him to finish. So, I decided not to prepare immortal roots for you. You are at the 2nd level of Qi condensation realm. You have a long time to think about which immortal roots to choose. I think this may be more effective than the one I chose for you. Suitable for you. Every ascetic knows the importance of immortal roots. Generally, those who become masters will rely on their own abilities to obtain gifts and give them to their disciples. Feng Shui did this to Su Yanli and the others. However, he really wanted to see what Wu Yu would choose in the end. For Wu Yu, on the one hand, he might lose the immortal roots that Feng Shui had prepared for him, such as the golden jade sword heart. On the other hand, it gave Wu Yu a lot of freedom to think, search, and exercise on his own. After all, he was still young and only at the 2nd level of Qi condensation realm, so there was no need to be too anxious. I'll give you a choice. You choose to challenge yourself, or I prepare it for you. Feng Shui stared at him. Master, I choose to challenge. This is Wu Yu. This is what makes him unique. When he started on the path to immortality, he had a strong belief in himself. Perhaps, it is also a character in his bloodline that is affecting him. Holy shit, this courage is incredible. Mo Shishu was shocked. To be honest, he didn't dare to make Wu Yu's choice because he didn't believe that the immortal roots he had obtained could be as good as Feng Shui's preparation for him. But Wu Yu actually had this belief. It's actually hard to say. If it happens, it will be courage and belief. If it fails, it means that newborn calves are not afraid of tigers and are just blindly confident. The key is to look at the future. Okay, you two will take him to the Xuanhuan Valley tomorrow and let him in. Yes, master. Withdraw. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ public account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read first, and get the latest information at any time. /U003C/E /U003E /U003C/E /U003E